Good morning and welcome to the Haven Financial Group radio show. Thanks for listening. Give us a call at 612-504-8400. Visit us online at havenfinancialgroup.com. Find out all the good retirement tools we have on that site and all the upcoming classes that we have. Kim, good to be with you. We got a lot to talk about, the markets, retirement like we do every single week. Questions, worries, and concerns. Well, of course, we always encourage listeners to give us a call. Good to be with you, Kim.
It's great to be with you as well. Larry, I want to ask you something. What's the number one question you are asked the most frequently?
Do I have enough money to retire, or when is it going to run out? Is it 95 or 75 or never? That is by far the biggest question, Kim.
So I think that's a question that will be looming over the course of this program today as we talk about understanding your readiness for retirement. I mean, I think you're not ready until you feel pretty secure in the idea that you have enough money to do so. So that's what we're going to talk about today, understanding retirement readiness. Then we're going to talk about key questions to focus your retirement income strategy. We'll also talk about your retirement timeline marked by some of very important birthdays. We've talked about those before, but those are always good to review. And then costs and budgets and how crucial they are to your retirement picture. So, Larry, let's get started by understanding readiness when it comes to retirement. So when you have somebody come in and they sit down and they say, Larry, I don't know if I have enough money and I'm not sure if I'm ready. What do you got? What do you talk about? What do you do?
Well, Kim, retirement planning in itself is more than just a bunch of advice, and advice is important, but, how does it actually apply to your situation? And there's nothing cookie cutter about it. We don't try to make things complicated, but we all have individual situations, different assets, desires, income, monies, resources, et cetera. And there's lots of misleading information out there. So when folks come in to sit down, or how are they positioned, we're going to take them through the same proprietary process we do with everybody. And, start with a discovery meeting. Where are you positioned? What are you doing? Who's helping you? And we're going to start from the very, very beginning as far as their goals and their objectives, into their resources, ask a bunch of questions throughout this 1 to 2 hour meeting that many times people go, well, my advisors never even asked me that question. Mm-hmm. When really these are applicable questions to everybody, maybe answered differently, but it's important to develop the foundation to, where are you at and where do you want to go? And how do we get there? Yeah. And then that'll lead into any strategies that we may come up with, leading to recommendations, suggestions that could fulfill this if they're not doing it already, or maybe it confirms that they are on track. Maybe you're listening and you don't have a plan, or you don't know really what that plan is. And then it's just not getting a plan. It's monitoring, it's adjusting it. It's making sure that there's conversations throughout the year, every year, not once a year or just twice a year or every other year, because the economy changes, laws change, taxes change, what doesn't change. And if you don't have a partner to help you navigate through these changes, you might be left in the dust going, I don't know what's going on, and that's not a good position to be in.
Absolutely not. All right. So what I hear you saying is the first thing people are going to do is you're going to sit down with them and they're going to talk to you about maybe what some of their goals are, some of their timeline issues, and then probably talk about some of the tools that are out there to help them in their retirement. So let's walk through some of those tools that exist, vehicles of investment and savings that you might talk to potential clients about.
And before I get there, Kim, I think it's important to understand how concerning this is for those that are planning for retirement. Transamerica did a study recently that 52% of respondents to their survey plan to work at least past 65 or not retire at all, telling me there's not much confidence there. A lot of people in recent years, we've talked about it, they've depleted their savings accounts with inflation, and that's concerning. And how do I build back my savings account to where it needs to be? We need to clearly define goals, timelines, objectives, which we'll talk more about some of the birthdays here later in the show, and then dive into the investments that you have. You may have some, you may have all, or you might not have hardly any of them. Well, we need to know that. Do you have 401ks? Do you have IRAs? Are you still working? Are you contributing? Are you maximizing it out? Are you doing things right from a tax perspective? Every week, and I think of last week, I had numerous folks that we're contributing to a 401k, and we want to make sure we're doing what makes sense in the moment. Sometimes it's contributing half into a Roth or contributing all of it into a pre-tax. We want to look at that. We're going to look at income streams that you have. Maybe you're blessed to have a pension or will have a pension. What will that be? We'll factor Social Security into the discussions. And we have classes every week. We have just had 2 of them this past week in Rosemount. Again, listeners can go to our site and come on out and get educated. That's where it really starts. And all this leads into building out a kind of a plan. We call it a 35-year projection. But we need to know the details. It's all in the details. If it's vague, if it's not clearly defined, there's a good chance it's not going to come to fruition that you want it to. And that's what we walk people through. And it may sound overwhelming. It may sound confusing. But there's nothing better than when we do it, and we do it not just once, but continued over the years, because there's no doubt we're looking to cultivate long-term relationships, helping people navigate throughout all of retirement. And life happens. Life happens quickly. Life doesn't cooperate with our calendar. And this plan needs to have some adjustments and modifications. Not just don't set it on the shelf and leave it and never look at it again.
As this process continues along for a potential client, I would imagine after they've asked you, do you think I have enough money to retire and is this the right time? One of the big questions is, how do I draw income, right?
Oh, that's a big one. Income is the name of the game. Again, I've said it before. We have folks that do not have a lot of retirement savings, but they have lots of income, and they're happy as can be, and they're going to be just fine. On the other side, we have those that have lots of assets or monies, but they don't have pensions. Their income is not so good, and they spend a lot of money, and they're not in such a good spot. So we see all of it across the board. So whether you have a lot, and I want to stress that on the show, a lot or very little, and you're listening and go, well, I don't even have enough to talk about. That just is not true. Give yourself more credit than that. Everybody should have some sort of plan. But again, there's 4% rules that people talk about. Where do we draw from? I want to stress, in the most tax efficient way possible, continuing to draw IRA money to pre-tax to fill the 12% bracket up. And then does it make sense to draw off savings? What's the stock market doing? What are the rates of return potential and what you're doing? These are all of the things. And one thing that is always a factor as a retirement planning firm is the element of time. Are you retiring soon, 5 years, 10 years? Do you need to draw money now? Or is that also, what is the timeline associated with it? And then we're always thinking about risk. And you've seen the markets in the last couple of weeks, Joe, jump all over the place. Volatility, the need for risk, the willingness for risk, and the ability to take risk. All this is part of these conversations, and not because it's so much fun to talk about money. Sometimes it is, but because it's important. And listeners they deserve the time, whoever they're working with. And if they're not getting the time, at Haven, we want to allow the time. We're not in any rush, and there's no quotas to how many times people can come in and visit with us, because that's really our job description.
Let's back up just a little bit. You were talking about the markets and, just the uncertainty that exists in the economy right now. And maybe you're someone who's planning to retire in the next 3 or 4 years. Are there things that you advise clients to do right now as they continue to prepare for retirement to protect some of these monies during these sort of difficult, uncertain times?
Well, that depends upon whatever plan is in place. Right now with the volatility, the knee-jerk reactions, as much as we educate and help people understand, we still have gotten some calls naturally with the jumps up and down, the short term. And we're looking at retirement, which we hope for us is long term. So we want to adhere to the plan and not make, we don't want to jump out just for the sake of jumping out. And that's why I don't care what the markets are doing, and I don't care what time it is. We have to have an understanding of what our balance is in our portfolio. Mm-hmm. How much risk are we taking? And I bet you a majority of listeners are going, we have no idea how much risk we're taking. Well, if you have seen your balance jump up and down a lot, That may be, and you don't like that jump up and down. You like the ups, but not the downs. You maybe have way too much risk in your portfolio. How do we look at changing that? We want to look at all the investment options, look at all the terms and all the things that go into having a good, balanced portfolio. And again, Kim, that comes down to the element of time again. When do you need it?
Mm-hmm. Understanding retirement preparedness. That's what we're talking about today. Are you prepared to retire? And is that a question that's looming over your head and you're looking for some advice and you're looking for a partner to put together a great plan? Then you want to call the folks at Haven Financial Group. Their number is 612-504-8400. Call and tell them that you heard Larry and me on the radio and that you'd like to set up an appointment to come in and to get some of your questions answered about retirement and hopefully put together a wonderful portfolio that makes life very happy in those golden years. Again, it's 612-504-8400. When we come back, let's answer some of the key questions that you might have when it comes to retirement income strategy. Like, for example, do I have enough money and will it last? This is the Haven Financial Group Radio Show.